NEMODE is an RC UK-funded community of academics and practitioners brought together to create a challenging new research agenda which should assist in building new types of digitally based businesses and inform public policy on how to best enhance those businesses. And in our first year, we've done quite a lot. We've also supported placements at MIT and the University of California at Santa Cruz, and we span topics from the fashion sector to finance and medicine to gaming.
The thing that I'm particularly interested in is what is called as modeling complex systems. And for me, particularly within the context of NEMODE, is trying to understand what big data means. How can you make better decisions? How can you understand patterns? Why are people doing decisions in a certain way? Many of these answers actually lie in the unstructured space. And trying to understand this space better, how to model it, how to understand how the dynamics between this work, is what is something I'm particularly interested in investigating. And this is not a computer science problem. Okay, it is far beyond computer science problem. We need to understand how all these different actors interact with one another. And I think that is what is the thing that's driving me, and that's why I'm here today, is to see what people are doing in this so-called big data space. Is anybody apart from me thinking about unstructured data, or are people just focusing on structured data and saying, okay, let's do something more of it? And of course there are challenges there, but I think the future is where this unstructured data lies. So this workshop in Cambridge was really instrumental for us to come together as a team, start thinking about it, and in a way, while we were working informally, it gave us a focus. We said, okay, we need to start working in this particular territory, in this space. More importantly, I think what NEMODE has done is it really pushed the policymakers in the country as well as the funders in the country to look at this particular issue on digital economy with a very different lens. And I think none of that would have been possible without such a network like NEMODE, in my view. And I feel personally, big data and big data-driven business models, I think, is emerging as its own discipline in some form. It's not business, it's not economics, it's not computer science. I think it's a collection of a large number of people who are very passionate about it. And I think this is where I think the future is, in my view, is this truly interdisciplinary team that is trying to solve big problems.
So basically, for the NEMODE, I had a look at how digital technology is enabling the development of new business model in a very traditional sector, which is the fashion retail sector. I think NEMODE was just a matter of opportunity for me. It was a good chance to get engaged with a bigger group. And at the same time, I'm moving forward my research agenda into the area of applicability of technologies to improve business models. On top of that, I have also an interest in see how these technologies, how these business models can engage customers and engage people. There are lots of initiatives that the fashion retail sector is developing in terms of engaging customers to get their ideas in terms of new design. This is in form of information. Information can be digitized. It's not just about a piece of cloth, it's about the design of it. It's about the getting customers to engage to develop new products, new ideas. And it's about the creativity industry surrounding this very traditional sector. I think the next interesting thing to look at is the concept of social commerce. I'm quite interested in seeing how social commerce is going to develop in the future. How companies can use social commerce to the benefit of their business model, but also to the benefit of the customer itself.
So I think the big issue undoubtedly is the digitization agenda. The fact that increasingly technologies are allowing us to collect more and more data from all sorts of different sources. That opens up new opportunities for business model innovation, new ways of creating value for customers in both the business to business and the business to consumer world. So I think academics and industry pairing up is essential in this particular area. One of the things that's happening is the rate at which the technology is developing is so rapid, and the rate at which it's being adopted and used in innovative ways in organisations, incredibly fast pace. So in some ways academia needs to pair with industry to understand the latest trends, to understand the latest issues, to understand the latest challenges. But then the role that academia plays is to help industry look forward. I'm not sure academia should be trying to solve today's problems particularly, but you want to be looking at the problems that are 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years out. We have the luxury in the universities to sit back a little bit and think about some of those challenges and the challenges that will face society, businesses, the public at large in the future. So for me, the fascinating thing about NEMODE is the way it brings together such a diverse group of people, from people who are interested in the technology, in the computer science, in the software, in the hardware, right through to people who are interested in questions of ethics and organisation, economics and management. So I think one of the things that personally I've learned the most about in the last few months is the whole area of business model innovation and what's happening in terms of the new business models that people are adopting. So a lot of my work, we see a shift to outcome-based contracts where people are saying, rather than buying products, what we'd like to buy is outcomes or solutions. Data and digital technologies play an enormously important role there because they allow me to remotely monitor assets, to predict when they need upgrades, to predict maintenance requirements, so that they allow firms to innovate their business models to move to these outcome-based contracts. The big advantage of things like NEMODE is it builds networks, it builds social structures which allow people to collaborate across academic boundaries, and often the interesting questions and indeed the answers to the big challenges society faces lie at the intersections of academic boundaries. They rarely lie in a single discipline or domain anymore.
So the grant that I won with NEMODE is a pilot study that is going to hopefully shape the agenda for research in platforms. Platforms are very important in the digital economy. We're surrounded by digital platforms like Google or Facebook or the Apple iPhone and its apps. And platforms have come to redefine how competition happens in the digital economy and how innovation happens in the digital economy. My research focuses on how these platforms grow and evolve. And the NEMODE grant is helping me fund some of my time, my research time, to focus on this important question. So I've only started to be involved with NEMODE over the last few months. So I'm discovering this network, and I see that it's a fantastic way to meet other researchers interested in similar topics, to make research collaborations with them. And I'm also discovering that NEMODE has a very large network with corporations. So I haven't yet utilized the NEMODE network to build further collaborations with industry. I've used my own, but I think that's an interesting combination between the business world and the research community.
We're very excited by the fact we're going to be engaging with people who are perhaps normally not connected with our type of research, so would be normally looking at the way in which we might be working with physicists or those who specialise in inkjet printing technologies around these 3D printing ideas, but to engage with those who really understand the issues of the digital economy from an investment point of view, an IP point of view, a regulation and standards point of view, an investment point of view. I think that would be very interesting. I think what's very interesting for us is the way in which typically research on production processes and production activities tends to focus on the production technologies themselves. But as the move towards 3D printing or additive manufacturing is happening, objects are being defined digitally. And that digital data has lots of artifacts associated with it. And we're very interested in the way in which issues to do with ownership and IP and privacy relating to data that defines physical objects is going to be used and exploited.
I think it's important for the relationship between IBM and NEMODE that we understand the taxonomy of the current research in terms of the different types of capabilities and thinking that NEMODE projects are generating. we can use that taxonomy to map onto the IBM capabilities, and that will enhance the advice and thinking that we can take to our clients to help them move into the digital world. NEMODE has got access to a number of projects and activities which could come up with some great ideas that could help us shape our thinking. We've obviously got a lot of thought leadership ourselves in IBM, but it's always good to cross-check ourselves with the rest of the industry and what academia are producing. So I think NEMODE and its deep academic connections in terms of projects it could work on could really focus on activities that will help define what some of these enablers are, that we can take back into industry and say, look, if you follow these particular processes or techniques, we've got some new thinking from our colleagues in NEMODE. We can use those to help develop thinking around digital business models and then eventually platforms and solutions.
My analysis of digital economy and my understanding of what a lot of research is currently doing is focused on core economic activity like consumption, production, retail, and very much on the business modelling side of things. And I actually think the digital economy offers a much wider remit into the sort of things that we can look at, because the economy is not solely based on monetized transactions. I mean, sure, that's a big part of it, but there are other things going on in the economy. And essentially, the economy is anything that has a value, whether it be monetized or not. And I think what the digital economy needs to come to terms with over the next few years is looking at the wide range of effects that technology is having, not only upon commercial activity, but on other activity within society that generates value and social welfare. What we'd like to look at is understanding the nature of crowdsourcing. There's an enormously powerful resource there, but we don't really understand a great deal about what makes up the crowd and what drives it. So what we're hoping to do is get a much better understanding of the elements of the crowd, how and why they come together, and perhaps more importantly, how can we incentivize sustained and deeper engagement so that these resources really can generate the maximum value. One of the major things that business models need to come to terms with and develop is ways of incorporating large amounts of data and analysing that in a deep and meaningful way to really get the value out of it.
By being part of the NEMODE network, what I'm hoping to be able to do is to set out an agenda around digital entrepreneurship, particularly micro-entrepreneurship, that I can be involved in, but also that I can bring others into as well. The benefits I've gained from participating in NEMODE so far is being able to talk to people with quite different research backgrounds, interests, and it really adds to a new dimension or dimensions to how you've thought about a problem. So it's been really interesting. For example, like I say, my area, I've been thinking about home-based entrepreneurship and talking to individuals who are thinking about crowdsourcing and new economic models from that dimension. You start thinking, can you bring those two together? I think some of the ideas have been around for a while, but we're going to see them actually, I would say, come to market, be implemented, actually happen, and so it's those perhaps some of the ideas have got ahead of themselves, but we'll see those happen.
I'm Benjamin Reed, and I'm Head of Open Innovation at the Big Innovation Centre. It was brilliant to be able to get involved with NEMODE because it had the same kind of balance that we do between research and practice. It was really trying to engage across a range of both academic disciplines, so it was very multidisciplinary as we would consider ourselves, but also that it was heavily engaged with practice. So I think that was a really important aspect that we were looking for. And it's partnering with the NEMODE network on that basis that I think allows us to answer some of the key questions that we have. For example, what are the disruptive forces in terms of business models that are going to disrupt the way in which our innovation system currently works, particularly, as I say, between different kinds of players in the ecosystem. What I see as the key challenges and issues are for new economic models in the digital economy are how these different players are going to come together, the configurations and the models that emerge through digitisation that are going to drive forward innovation across the whole economy. I think, for me personally, engaging with NEMODE has been a really good way to keep myself grounded in what's happening in a really multidisciplinary range of academic expertise, both in the UK and broader. I think it's been a really important aspect of bringing that particularly theoretical understanding to the work that we're doing, which is often on quite a practical or consultancy basis with our range of partners. I think it keeps me grounded in some of the big discussions that are being had, and that's really important.
The big thing with NEMODE is the new opportunities and the new business models that it creates. I think that's something that we're all struggling to get our heads around as to what the new business models will be and how do we actually adapt and change towards those. The NEMODE structure is very broad, and there are a whole range of people who are doing similar things in different areas, who have got different experiences. And I've noticed that just meeting these different people, you get a different perspective, you get different views and different ways of doing things, as well as inviting them in to work with you on your projects, and also getting the experience that they've had in doing their own projects. So sharing that stuff is really quite vital. Of course, it is a digital network, as you can imagine as well. It's not just meeting people face to face. For me, I think certainly from today, the discussion was around avoiding exclusion, making sure that people are inclusive. We include all of the people, whether they be old, whether they be rich or poor, whether they come from different ethnic minorities. Including all of those in the digital economy is absolutely vital.